Hello fellow Leggers, thank you for joining us once again for a theatre trip. We are in Leicester at the Leicester Curve.
And we are here to see a play which I think has probably earned the status legendary by now.
Oh, that's a big label.
It's a big label.
Why is it legendary status?
I mean, for many reasons which we'll go into a little bit later, and that play is The Woman in Black.
So as usual, fellow Leggers, stick around to hear all of our thoughts.
Find out how many stars,
Whether it's break a leg
or leg it.
Woman in Black.
Yes.
This is a touring production.
It's
been in London for years and years.
And that's one of the reasons it's legendary. So let's
Okay.
go back to the legend of the Woman in Black.
Okay.
It's based on the 1983 Susan Hill novel of the same name. Now, the book was adapted by Stephen Mallatratt into a play more than 30 years ago, premiering at the Stephen Joseph Theatre in Scarborough, of all places.
Wow,
Not
gotta
many
start
things
somewhere.
have an out of town in Scarborough, do they? It's not one of those places
Comment
that's
below.
renowned. Yeah.
Are there any others?
Was it the sort of thing to do in the 80s? Just try out in Scarborough? Anyway, it opened in the West End in 1987, where it's gone on to... No, it didn't.
1989.
1989 it
At the
opened
Fortune
in the West End.
Theatre.
No.
Oh, it's not even at the Fortune.
Do you know it
Where did
played-
it go
it's,
to?
It's been at the Fortune Theatre for 30 years.
Right.
But it had two other West End venues before landing at the Fortune, including
Really?
the Lyric, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So you sort of associate the Fortune with the Woman
It's
in Black.
only ever been at the Fortune
But it
in
hasn't
my
only-
my lifetime.
It
but
has, that's
obviously
not true either. This
What?
is like when you let on that you've only just... What was it the other day that you said?
Shall we move
You
on?
said you were a kid when the Prince of Egypt came out, and I'm like, you bloody well weren't a kid. Anyway, it's gone on to become...
So it's been on in London
the
for a long time.
second longest running play in West End history, second only to...
The Mousetrap.
The Mousetrap. Now,
Yes.
it's famous for its small cast of, let's say, 2.5 actors, alongside its plethora of jump scares. The play tells the story of Arthur Kipps, who is a junior solicitor journeying to a small market town to attend the funeral of a client, and while sorting through her affairs, uncovers the dreadful secret of the Woman in Black.
Is that like insert sound cue
Yeah,
here?
put a sound effect.
Dun, dun. Okay.
Now, such is the popularity of that tale that it's twice been adapted into feature films, once in 1989 starring Adrian Rawlings and Pauline Moran, and again in 2012 starring Daniel Radcliffe and Kieran Hines.
Which was actually quite terrifying. I
I've
saw that
seen the
adaptation.
film, but I can't really remember
You're
it.
not good with films, so I'm
No.
impressed you saw that one. But-
I'm really interested to see how they're going to make, because that's not a two-hander, is it? The film that has a really large ensemble cast, right?
It does.
So how are they going to do it? I really
How?
want to know
Okay.
what mysteries are going to be uncovered tonight, including how they're going to stage it. That's the biggest mystery of them all. 2 hours and 5 minutes, including a 15-minute interval. So pretty zippy.
Yeah,
We'll
so
see
stick
you.
around to then to hear our
Yeah,
30-second
we'll
interval
see.
breakdown
It's
thoughts.
just shortly, because you'll be catching us at the end for all of the stars.
We've come to the interval, which means it's time for the break a leggers.
30-second
30-second
interval
interval breakdown.
breakdown.
Go, what do you think? So
No, you start, go.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, we
Okay.
wasted 3 seconds already.
I think it's a really clever concept in terms of its story. How do we transpose this kind of horror story
Something that
onto
could be
this
quite
thriller?
vast.
Yes, onto a stage with just 2 actors. So that's really exciting, and
Yeah.
it's speeding up. Sorry.
Yeah, it is speeding up, but it does take a long time to get going. I would say I'm captivated, and like you say, that sort of method and that theatrical device is something that was really clever, and imagine at the time is groundbreaking.
Okay, fellow leggers, we've come to the end. We're going to try and make this pacey because there's only 2 people in
Yeah,
it, right?
I mean, what can you
So-
say?
And I mean, this has been running for donkeys, so I'm sure you fellow leggers have also seen it. So please let us know what you think down below.
Yes.
Legger Simon, what did you make of The Woman in Black
Oh,
touring production?
like
this is like its 12th tour as well. It's been out.
Yeah.
Although this isn't the first time it's been out.
No.
It's been like a dozen tours. and
Absolutely,
it's-
and I'm really questioning why. It reminds me of a Greg's pasty, tepid is what I would call it, devoid of any kind of real scares. When I think of a dramatic piece with a ghost story and sound and vision. I want to be on the edge of my seat. I want to be gripped. And what I was bored. Going into the interval, I thought, do you know what? Maybe it's a show of two halves. And we often say, things can be resolved. It can be made up in the second act. 2/3 of the way through the second act, I realised it wasn't going anywhere. So I closed my eyes and just switched off. And that's all it was good for me.
I think the power of this is probably in its concept. That's where it starts and falls. The concept is great, but ultimately fails to deliver.
Yeah.
I think it's delivered by a cast that obviously are very capable, because you're asking a lot of them, 2 people to carry a whole show. How long was the first act?
55 minutes.
55 minutes. Second act was 40 minutes. By today's standards, I think you drop the interval and just plough through in one go.
I mean, I can only imagine that you want to sell ice cream. That's the only reason to have an interval in this piece, because the dramatic tension you build, you lose at the interval.
There was a bit of dissipation, just as we were building up to something at the end of the first act. We kind of had to re-establish that again. Even then, the story, I wasn't entirely gripped. There was a nice use of lighting and, I think the greatest grip was sound. I think that really built up the tension at times. This is one of the hardest genres for theatre, I think. I've said this before, this kind of thriller idea, this kind of horror stuff. It's really hard to do on stage. And this is probably one of the only ones that has done that consistently for so long. We've seen others. Was it The House on
Cold Hill?
Cold Hill was kind of the newest thing we've seen trying to live up to that. But I don't know, it just left me a bit, I think
cold.
just a bit, I was watching what was happening, I was engaged in what was happening, and I was going along with the story, but there was no kind of real, like we're in a drama where you want to know what happens next. We were just being taken along as opposed to kind of like having something set up. For me.
Okay. I admire...
Concept wins, but that's...
Yeah, I could say, I admire the concept. I mean, I would imagine this was meta theatre before meta theatre was a thing. It is 2 people who have come together to tell a story. Dead certain Marcus Lloyd is much better at that, but in my opinion, but it's also by, like you said, with so much new material out there that touches on this genre, it doesn't feel as original as it may have done in 1987, and perhaps that is its downfall. It's got through for me on reputation alone. It's a cheap show to run, it's a cheap show to mount, and it's cheap ticket to get hold of in the West End, certainly, because there's offers and coach trips and things to be shipped in, and that's the only reason why I can understand this is surviving, because I was bored, and I don't want to be bored for a night at the theatre. I want to have realised, why have I spent my time and money here? I want to know, I want value.
Are you going
Where's
in
the
with high
value?
expectations already, because it's been
How
such a
can
long
you not?
running show?
Do you know what? Even if you know
Do you know
nothing
what I mean?
about this, you would know that it's been in the West End for 30 years. So how could you not have an anticipation? How could you not be thinking, wow, I'm going to find out why this has sold for so long?
And even then, I felt as if I think even if I went in with low expectations, I'd still come out thinking, that was okay.
That was okay, yeah.
That was
it was
okay. I know about it.
Let's talk, I mean, I do admire what the cast, I mean, as someone that has directed a 2-hander, I will always admire anybody that gets up on stage and tries to sell a story and an experience with very limited cast members and anyone to bounce off for 2 hours. And that Robert Goodale as Arthur Kipps. I mean, when I think Kipps,
great.
I was thinking Arthur Sixpence. I was thinking maybe at the minute we'll get like banjo. Yeah, I thought I might get that, but we didn't get that.
No,
if
it's
we'd have
not
all had a
that Arthur
banjo, I'd
Kipps.
have had a better time. But I thought he did a wonderful job. He plays many characters and he has to switch and change between them. Clearly, a very capable. A lot of Shakespeare, I could tell.
He's
clear
one of
diction.
with the biggest journey as well, because it's his story. He's playing many different characters. You've got him as him, and kind of dealing with the grief of the story of what happened to him and his narrative. So he's observing the actor play his part. So he gets lots to play with, and I thought he was great. A really good actor. I'd love to see him in something else.
I'd buy him a banjo. Danga, 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 danga. Also, Daniel Easton as the actor.
From the word go as well, he kind of speaks to us from out in the audience as the actor, telling us how to project, how to
Also, no,
enunciate.
is he an actor or is he a director?
Well, either
What
way,
is
he's in
it?
the arts, darling.
He's
they
in
can
the-
do everything.
Oh, can they?
They're very
Certainly.
capable. There are actors, darling.
Well,
who-
he didn't direct a better show,
directors
did
who
he?
came from actors. I thought he was absolutely great. Again, a fantastic actor, but just working with this material, driving through where he could drive through, and then really dropping the pace. What is it, fellow leggers? What is it? They make really clear announcements at the start of the show. Turn your phones off.
Yeah,
we
why
don't
do
want.
people
There's so
ignore
much
you?
in silence at the end of the beginning of the second act as well.
Yeah.
Overkill. They had even more
Yeah,
announcements saying,
saying,
"Please turn off
"Please
your
turn
mobile
the
phones,"
phones
because
off.
there's some real moments of real silence that this show relies on. What did we get, leggers?
Ding. Ding. Dong.
Why?
Do you know what? If
Audience
you can't
members, just
follow the
listen.
rules, off is what I say.
Oh, no.
There's
I'm
a
gonna have
beep
to
it out,
edit
but
that
yeah,
now.
if you can't follow the rules,
Oh gosh, that's two. That's an extra
I feel
10 minutes
strongly
for
about
editing
it.
time.
I'm so sorry. It's
why-
disrespectful to
completely-
everyone around you. It's hideous.
I don't get it. Like,
No.
just be quiet. This
Yep.
show relies on silence. And it was like, rustle, 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 rattle, rattle, rattle.
Hideous.
Beep, 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 beep. So
Yep.
that probably didn't help either. But
Is that
there
why
was.
maybe I'd have enjoyed it more had people have just bloody behaved themselves. Now, I will call out Stephen Mallatratt as an adapter of this because, from what I understand, the book which it's based is just a narrative. It's just
It's just a
a
story.
story,
Arthur
right?
Kip's story,
I
yeah.
get that, but to say how are we going to put this on stage and make it a theatrical experience, and then transposing it into if two people came together to tell this story, what would that be like on stage? Is a clever thing. Like it solves a huge amount of problems, and I really like it as a concept.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. And
Yeah.
how do you get two people to tell this whole story
Yeah.
and set up this whole landscape and these things? Well, you just turn it into a theatrical concept. It's
Yeah.
going on stage, so let's make
And
it.
that's
They're
the
making
way
it into
to.
a play.
I think that is the way to do it.
And that is the concept. You
Yeah.
almost got to see it for the concept.
I know you
Done.
enjoyed Kevin Sleep's work as lighting designer,
Yes, some nice stuff.
and also Sebastian Frost on sound.
It's all about the
design.
sound. All the tension is from the sound. All the
Yeah.
soundscaping is from the sound. The sound is the sound.
Oh, the soundscaping's from the sound.
The
Thank
sound
God
is
for
the
that.
sound.
It's the soundscaping,
It's
not
all
from
the sound.
not from.
Do you know what I
It's
mean?
all
It's
about
all
the
in there.
sound in this, and
Yeah.
and that plays a part. Do you know what? I think as a sound designer, it's a joy to your work to be sort of acknowledged within the piece. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like the magic here is going to be in the sound,
And that's
it
very
draws
signposted.
Yeah, and it draws your attention to it even further because in other pieces you take it for granted.
You do.
You can't in this.
We said we were going to be quick,
Yeah,
but I
let's
suppose if
wrap
we're
it
still
up.
going
We're still
on.
rolling on.
Okay, well, you probably wonder how many stars we are going to give The Woman in Black, which is currently on the UK tour and in London, but we've
Yeah.
caught this production here at the Curve Theatre.
We have.
We are going to give 2 stars for this.
Yeah,
We're kind of
just-
meeting in the middle.
I mean, I wouldn't bother. Like, honest to God, unfortunately, I wouldn't waste my time. I just couldn't recommend it. Unfortunately, it's just not. It doesn't live up to the hype. I don't think it's earned its place. And as for clogging up a West End house for 30 years, no wonder we're screaming out for spaces to bloody host new work when this is just taking up everyone's room.
Whereas I thought it was okay. I thought it was
Good.
I didn't loathe it and detest it.
Okay, good.
You know, I was enjoying the story. I
yeah.
thought it was quite easy watching.
Okay.
There were times when it was a bit dull for me, but at the
on
same
on
time,
the whole.
on the whole, it moved, and I enjoyed the concept, and I enjoyed seeing the interplay and the growing of this
And this
Arthur
just
Kipps and his
goes
acting
to
skills.
show, it's what we always say. Everything is somebody's favourite thing. Someone else will
not
take
my favourite
something.
thing,
No, but
but
somebody else will take
is it
something.
your favourite thing?
Different
Let us know
from
down
it.
below.
So let us know down below
It's
what
easy.
you think. Because hey, it's just what I think.
Totally what I think.
What do you think? Come and see this piece and just let us know if we got it wrong. Let us know if we got it right. Start a conversation. That's what we're here for, fellow leggers.
Don't forget to like, subscribe,
We're on
dislike
Instagram
if you
as
don't
well.
agree.
Yes.
Just be something.
Don't be nothing. That's what he says. We're the Breaker Leggers.
And we'll catch you again soon. Bye.